Hello and a very warm welcome. This is India Today and you're watching the big Judges at War face-off. The Indian judiciary faces a crisis of the sort that hasn't been seen in decades now. Has the credibility of India's highest court been dented forever? Joining us on our face-off, I want to begin by introducing Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, very eminent jurist, also national spokesperson of the Congress party. Squaring off against him in this debate is Dr. Sambit Patra of the BJP. And in the audience here, we've got some young aspiring lawyers. And we've checked, they're not hiding either of our two guests. They've come in with a very open mind. So I want to start by asking our first question. Has the credibility of the Indian judiciary been compromised forever? When people look at the next judgment coming from the Supreme Court, will they have at the back of the mind which judge was this assigned to, what are his political leanings, and is he swinging one way or the other? Has the Supreme Court been compromised? I want to start by putting that question first and foremost to Dr. Singhvi.
Well, obviously the answers are not a binary yes, no. It has been severely damaged, dented, maybe even the word compromise is right, but not irreversibly. I have spent a lifetime in this profession and I'm deeply pained and saddened, as many of us who have spent a lot of time in this profession. But I think the sheer faith and adulation of this institution, and let's be frank, it far exceeds any degree of faith in either the executive or the legislature or indeed the press, which is our fourth organ of state, is so great in this country that people still look up to it, and I think they will realize that there were issues, but that this is not an erosion of that faith. So my answer to your question is, in a nutshell, yes, it has been very, very highly avoidable, should not have happened, severely dented, not irreversible. And if you want me to answer one supplementary issue here, how can it be, in a sense, if the principal actors in this play, transcend their egos by some very simple things? It can be solved in 15 minutes.
So we'll come to that later. Dr. Patra, on your watch, an institution that is beyond your control stands damaged, possibly irreparably. What has happened and cannot be questioned is that a doubt has been cast in the minds of the Indian public. When 4 judges come to the People's Court and say, let people decide, now suddenly people watching this broadcast and elsewhere are wondering, has the situation in the judiciary gotten so rotten that those within don't feel confident about the system they represent?
Rahul, I'll take a different approach. He's an eminent jurist, as you rightly pointed out. I, being the spokesperson of the National Party, but not an advocate or not a student of law, as a common citizen, this is what I feel. First and foremost, when I came for this debate, you said that, well, you had a vote of sorts as to what side the students over here from the law faculty take. Win the debate or lose the debate? Who would win and who would lose the debate? I firmly believe that this debate is not to win or lose. This debate is to amicably settle something which is of prime importance in the country. It does not matter who wins or who loses. But the judiciary of this country, at the end of the day, the faith of the people in this country that they have reposed in the judiciary is the one which is out on test, and that should be victorious.
No, but let's see, Dr. Patra, what's the principal charge at play? It may not have been enunciated in the same words, but unmissable is the subtext that the Chief Justice of India, under external pressure, most probably from your government, is assigning to pliable judges politically sensitive cases. Now, this charge is not being levelled by the political opposition. It's not being levelled by the likes of a Prashant Bhushan or an Indira Jaising. This charge is being levelled by 4 sitting judges, very senior judges, who have a very impeccable track record as jurists. That's very problematic, sir.
I'll answer all these questions. First and foremost, I had to complete that last question of yours. And let me tell you, even if the judiciary has taken a beating because of the unfortunate incident that took place yesterday, as the spokesperson of the ruling party, and I firmly believe sir would also agree with me, all that we have to say is we stand by the judiciary. We want a strong and independent judiciary. Whatever the people feel is a secondary issue, but I still say to the people that this is the best institution of a vibrant democracy as India. And yes, the damage has not been done. It still stands as the tallest institution of the country. Secondly, to the particular question that you have asked me, Rahul, I would say that we are reading too much when nothing has been written. You are saying probably under the external pressure of the government. that the Chief Justice of India is showing some flexibility. I would say nowhere in the 7-page letter which is central to the discussion is there a mention of an external pressure. As far as respected, see, the Chief Justice
but they've also said in this letter, Dr. Patra, that there are many other things that have been happening for a very long time now,
Rahul,
which they don't want to put out in the public domain because it will further embarrass the institution they represent.
I'll threadbare answer each of your question without shying away from the camera. In fact, since yesterday no one is shying away from the camera, so let me answer them one by one. First and foremost, when it has been said yesterday itself, I mean, as you pointed out, that there are issues which are under the carpet which would be brought to the forelight only in the days to come. So why should I assume something which has not been brought to the forelight? I depend on the 7-page letter that the respected judges have written. Nowhere they have talked about the external pressure. See, all they talk about, the central issue is certain administrative failures within the Supreme Court's premises itself. And I firmly believe that the constitutional structure of this country, which guarantees separation of power, gives an independent role to the judiciary. It has its own self-correcting measure. Amicably, they will sit down, they will discuss, they would settle. I, as a spokesperson of a party, a young politician, am no one to speak about any judge in this country, about any justice of the Supreme Court, because by doing that, I would be doing injustice to the constitutional system of this country.
Yesterday, we had the Attorney General K.K. Venugopal speak to me on India Today, and he said that today a resolution would be found, that all the judges would sit together with the Chief Justice, and that the government was confident this matter would be thrashed out. Now, 3 of the 4 rebellious judges are not even in town. No meeting has taken place, which clearly means, Dr. Singhvi, that the fissure is so deep that the government's expectation for an immediate resolution seems highly unlikely.
Well, I wish all power to the elbow of Mr. Venugopal, but obviously it's an over-ambitious idea. But, I mean, doesn't mean today it could happen in 72 hours, 3 days, 5 days, we'd all be very happy. But let me answer the much more important question you asked him, for which he had about 3 minutes. The important question, and let me start by saying this, and I'll be very pointed and brief. We must start by admiring the courage of 4 judges. It's very easy for you to go and ask questions in the press and for us to report and comment. But for 4 judges to have a press conference and sit must have taken immense courage, and I commend them for it. It also takes a huge amount of steely nerve to do it. I am against press conferences in the judiciary, but extraordinary situations may require extraordinary responses. Is this an extraordinary situation is the real question. Well, let me say 3 things to correct my friend, Mr. Patra. We have all read the letter. The letter was written well before yesterday's press conference, and it uses, to summarize, words to the effect: matters of immense national significance, selective preferred benches, institutional integrity. And we have all the other quotes from the letter.
Democracy but the letter was at risk? Democracy at risk?
And no, democracy at risk was orally said by Mr. Justice Chalmeshwar yesterday. That's the 4th point. You're right, absolutely, but not in the letter. But further, the letter is not all. The letter was followed by a meeting yesterday morning. And after the meeting, there was this press conference where the name of a particular case was taken, not by you, not by me, not by politicians, but by one of the senior-most judges. And let me tell you one more thing. Not does it require courage for all 4. It requires exceptional courage for a man who is likely to be Chief Justice of India in 1 year's time. He could have taken, as we say in Hindi, the patli gali. He could have taken an escapist route. He could have avoided the issue. He stood by the brethren. Now, that takes a lot of courage for a man who's going to be Chief Justice of India, and I must commend it publicly and put it on record. Now, what are the 3 things? Your question, you can't, get around it by platitudes and by rhetoric, because this impinges on independence of judiciary, which is part of our basic structure. And democracy is part of our basic structure. What are the 2 points they make in the letter? And what is the oral point made by Justice Gogoi? Let's be specific, because we can avoid the issue by fudging the issue. Point number 1, huge excessive delay in the memorandum of procedure. And once the court has held in 9 judges, 7 judges, 5 judges repeatedly, that if I recommend Rahul Kamal as a judge and the government says no once, and if the collegium recommends a second time, then the government can't delay. Why is there excessive delay is point number 1. Point number 2 is very important, more important. Why this disturbing trend of, the phrase used is, matters of national importance being selectively assigned to preferred benches. Now, nobody took the name. But they were not talking of a contractual dispute between Singhvi and Kamal, where I am suing Kamal for money. They were not talking of a dispute where he has hit my car, a road accident. They were talking of Lohiya's case, who the judge mentioned. But everybody who's anybody knows that they were also talking of Aadhaar. Before A and B shifted to C, they were also talking of Asthana's case. You see, Palkhiwala said, unless you let
No,
words
but they
be
didn't talk of all these cases.
No.
You are adding to what they said.
No, they didn't
cases
say
you
it.
believe
I
they
agree,
were talking
I
about.
agree. No,
Dr.
Rahul,
Singhvi,
let
they
me
never
come-
said anything
let
like
me
this.
come
And
on,
I'll
let
tell
me
you why
complete.
you're being slightly
Let me-
unfair.
no, let-
It's because you're imputing motives to these judges which were never
Rahul,
enunciated clearly.
let's be clear. I take back my words. I don't mean they said in the letter. One word was said in the press conference. The attribution to anybody who's in the profession is to certain cases. Let us not take names. I've taken 2 names, ignore them. Now, are these cases of a private bilateral nature?
Okay.
Or do they involve principally the government as the principal party?
Okay, let Dr.
Just
Patra...
half a minute, half a second. These are cases not only of momentous significance, but the name of the case taken yesterday by a sitting judge involves the highest corridors of power. We're not talking about
But the judge never mentioned the name. There's a question that was asked to which he says yes, and I'll play that clip out for you.
Now we can do this hair splitting.
No, one
this
second.
hair splitting
Rahul,
is
please.
not good for democracy.
Okay, fair
This
enough.
is hair splitting.
One by one. Dr. Patra, let's look at what was said. Democracy is at risk.
Yeah.
Extremely sensitive cases of national importance being assigned to selective benches. Now, this cannot be about a civil dispute. Naturally, the judges may not have said more, not to seek to embarrass the institution, but what they've said, they believe they have reason to worry about whether democracy in India is at risk.
Well, let me answer each one of them, but I'm a worried lot today, especially because I'm not a lawyer. And what I'm hearing from the respected judges of the country, that there is an attempt by the Chief Justice of India, the highest authority of judiciary in this country, for bench hunting. That is a core issue. There's a bench hunting. Even if this were true, God forbid, even if this were true that there are benches which give out favorable outcome, then God save the country. That means the judiciary is agreeing to the fact that there are judges who are corrupt, there are judges who fall into malpractice.
But that is what is being said.
Exactly.
Which is why God help this country, and this is not being said by Dr. Singhvi, this is being said by 4 highly respected judges.
Correct.
Give me a few seconds. That is why, for the polity like me and Mr. Singhvi, trying to politicize on this floor, we should be getting back and we should be thinking, was the process of appointment that was being followed for all these years, right?
No, but you had an opportunity to address it. You haven't.
It was addressed, you know. I'll come to the answers, Baba. Just allow me to answer a few lines. First and foremost, when the judiciary itself from within says that the judiciary is corrupt, then I firmly believe he cannot point fingers towards me, saying as if the 24 judges that have been appointed are the Bharatiya Janata Party people and the favorable bench for which the hunting is going on is appointed by the Bharatiya Janata Party. That would be absolutely bunkum. Secondly, and most importantly, that we are discussing about Judge Loya's case. Let me emphatically make this point, since I represent the party, and the corridors of power that Mr. Singhvi is talking about needs to be defended because they have not committed wrong. And give me some time. Judge Loya's case is not central to the whole discussion and the press conference that was held by the 4 judges yesterday. And it is being fished out while it does not exist by the Congress party. Had it been central, the judges would have begun their press conference with a mention of the issue if it was central. Had it been central, the 7-page letter would have found a mention of the Judge Loya case.
No, but 2 points, Amit. First and foremost, something happened yesterday which triggered this outburst, because the letter goes back to November 2017. It's not yesterday's letter. Something happened, and the only thing that happened yesterday was the listing of the Loya case, when it is already being heard before the Bombay High Court, raising the question whether the Loya case was being sent to a judge who disposed of politically sensitive cases in the past.
I'll answer that. We all know of the matter that Judge Loya's case is already in front of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is seized of the matter. And on 15th of January, that is day after tomorrow, Monday, in fact, the Supreme Court has asked for the autopsy report and other reports in the Maharashtra Council. So naturally, when the issue is in front of the Bombay High Court, as you rightly pointed out, when the issue is in front of the highest court of the country, 2-judge bench are already looking into it. Now, I start casting aspersions on the judges itself, saying that, well, these judges, if they look into the cases, it is not fine. If these judges look into the issue, it is fine. Do you think I, as a politician, would be justifying the judiciary of this country? I'm so sorry that I am no one to be commenting on the judiciary of the country.
I want to now come to the second question I'm going to ask on this big face-off. Should a SIT, a special investigation team, be set up to probe the death of Justice Loya? And Dr. Singhvi says that the judge mentioned the Loya matter. The fact is, he did not. What did Justice Gogoi actually say? Sit back as I play out. And this is very significant because is this the central focus or is it not? Is germane to where this debate goes from here. So listen to that key portion and then we come back with this big face-off.
Sir, but today morning, is there any specific issue? It
is an issue of assignment of a case, which is an issue raised in that letter.
So, this is about lawyers thing?
Is it about lawyers?
Yes.
Now, Justice Ranjan Gogoi there says yes, but the fact, Dr. Singhvi, is there are many people speaking simultaneously. We can't be 100% certain that he said yes to whether this is about lawyer. Secondly, he said all the issues are listed out in that 7-page letter, just this lawyer's name is mentioned nowhere in this letter. Therefore, given the significance of the charge, how do we know for sure that yesterday's outburst was actually about just this lawyer's death?
I think it's an amazing approach to nitpick and make differences without distinction, which ignores democracy itself. And you must give me at least 1/5 time, 4/5 time equal time you're giving him, because it's very important to explain. Error number 1, there is no question of the letter talking of Lohiya's case, because Lohiya's case was born in the Supreme Court last week. The letter is 2 months old. Error number 2, the judges have followed the letter with a meeting in the morning. Number 3, why was the meeting in the morning?
No, you said he mentioned lawyer, he did not. I just wanted to point out that technical fact.
Look,
he did not
Indira
mention
Jaising was present, your channels were present. The question is lawyer. If I say yes, does it amount to mention? If I ask you, Rahul, are you talking of this subject and you say yes, does it mean you mention it or not?
Okay. What kind of
hesitate? Even lawyers don't hesitate like this.
Justice lawyer case was said multiple times.
Yes, and he said yes.
Justice Gogoi says yes.
Yes.
Therefore, the judge may not have mentioned lawyer.
Well, we can keep on doing
the fact that he's
talking
about
Rahul, let me complete now. This is not fair.
Just
this is not
10
fair.
Okay, one at a time.
Let me
Not
complete. I'm
both
sorry, I'm
guests
not
at the
yielding.
time.
I'm not
Dr.
yielding.
Singhvi is not completed. Let him complete. I'm coming to
There is no question. I have not completed. I have not even started before I have been interrupted by both sides. Now,
there is only one side. There is no second side.
Yes.
Media.
Sorry. I'm not going to yield so easily. Justice Lohia case or Judge Lohia case is the only of the 3 questions asked, and he says yes. But that's not the point. He says the issue is assignment mentioned in that letter, and the Judge Lohia case is a manifestation of the assignment. The issue in the letter is assignment. The example may be Lohia, it may be Asthana, it may be Aadhar. That's not the point. The point is, are matters of national significance ordinary bilateral contractual matters or tort matters? They are matters which involve the highest corridor of power.
There's one thing that, Dr. Singhvi, I think you've had a fair chance. There's one thing that good lawyers do, is that they play victim. And they make it seem as if they're not being given an adequate opportunity. And I've seen this happen in courts as well, which is why Dr. Singhvi gets all the lakhs that he gets for every hour that he argues. You've had your say. Let Sambit Patra respond.
But I am a good judge because I've judged what was wrong over here. And let me tell you why. I mean,
we don't want you to play Judge Sambit Patra. That's the problem.
For a while, let me judge for a while where the lie lies. Let me judge for a while where the lie lies. And let me tell you, had the Judge Lohia case been so important and central to the issue, we should not have cleared the wax of our ears to listen to as to what one of the judges had to say. We would have heard it right in front of us. We would have seen it right in front of us through the letter. That we have to, in fact, clean our ears to hear.
But the letter is from November.
Letter is from... Just a second. It would not have taken the respected judges 5 seconds to add a line in the letter, because at the end of the day, as Mr. Singhvi says and the judges said, this was an unprecedented situation.
They should have written a new letter.
Exactly. An unprecedented situation needs time. It needs devotion of time. So I firmly believe that this unprecedented situation, the letter that was produced was with due diligence and with wisdom. And that did not mention lawyer. Secondly, you took 10 minutes. Allow me now.
He's seen TV also.
Abhishek ji, this is not the court. This is not the court. This is media.
He never said so.
Secondly, and most importantly, the 2 issues that Mr. Singhvi raises over here. That, well, there was a meeting. There was a morning meeting. The letter is 2 months old, but there's a morning meeting in the chambers of the CJI. Were you eavesdropping there? How do you know what was happening? What was
the judges said this?
The judges did not mention Lohia case. Well, some cases were discussed. That may have been Aadhar, that may have been Asthana, but they picked up the cherry which never existed. You are cherry picking, and the
No,
cherry
but
never
Aadhaar
exists.
or Astana
See,
didn't get listed yesterday. Only the Loya case got listed yesterday.
Had it been central, the judges were intelligent enough, they are wise people, the most wise people of this country, they would have mentioned it. They did not, and it needed a reporter to coax, and for all of us to give a secretary to hear means it is not central. Secondly, you spoke about the memorandum of procedures, and I know this answer has to go from the government. As far as the MOP is concerned, what was the concern of the judges? If you would go to the 7-page letter, the concern of the judges was regarding the verdict of 27th October 2017, when Justice UU Lalit and his colleague Mr. Goyal, Justice Goyal, in fact, took the whole thing upon the judiciary to castigate the government as to why there is a delay in the MOP delivery. The issue is the judges felt that this was wrong. Since the NJAC constitutional bench had heard it, it was the constitutional bench which should have heard it, and since the issue of MOP was being heard with the government administratively and not judicially, what was the requirement for the judiciary to ask the government
you can't
why
sit
there was
on
a
a
delay?
decision for 2
and
years.
Then, and the government, the judges in fact have never questioned the government. The judges have questioned the CJI as to why this bench spoke against the government.
No.
And I would let me remind you, in November, just 10 seconds.
Sambil Patra, you are diverging from the issue because my
No,
question
I'm not
was
diverging.
this. My question was this, that the Congresses yesterday demanded that a special investigation team be set up to probe the death of Justice Loya.
The simple answer
Since
is,
this
I'll
impacts
answer
your
that.
super
I'll
boss,
answer that.
the BJP president, is the BJP willing for that?
I'll answer that. Rahul, I asked the August gathering over here, who is higher as far as the judicial acumen is concerned? Whom I am supposed to judge higher? Mr. Rahul Gandhi or the Supreme Court of this country? The Supreme Court of this country is seized of the matter. The Supreme Court has asked for papers. The autopsy report is to be submitted on 15th of this month, only about a couple of days from today. They would decide what is to be done, or Mr. Rahul Gandhi and Mr. Abhishek Manu
That's a good point, and Dr. Singhvi must respond, because you've got a High Court, Bombay High Court petition, you've got a petition in the Supreme Court. Suddenly the Congress jumps in and says that there must be a SIT. If the matter is before the courts, why politicize it? Let the courts decide, sir.
I think it's completely misunderstood. The SIT demand is not made yesterday by Rahul Gandhi. The SIT's demand has been made for the last several weeks and months. Point number one. Point number two, in case people don't know this, they should educate about finding out that SITs are appointed by the court. We are not asking that a SIT will be appointed from the outside over the head of the court. So this is a demand, request, asking.
Is the BJP okay with that demand?
Come on, Rahul, this is
Who
not
are
fair.
we? Who are the BJP
Rahul,
and the
this is not
Congress
fair.
to
I
be
haven't
okay with
started
what
now.
the
This is
Supreme
not
Court
fair.
decides?
He hasn't started.
No, he has not started as yet.
You either keep a stopwatch.
I agree with that.
So that I will not be a victim and you will not be the perpetrator. You ask the audience here to have a vote on the stopwatch. I have no problem. And I don't want to...
Okay, let's ask the audience, are we being fair? No? You're not getting enough time. Okay, he's not getting enough time.
Not
You've got
time,
the audience
I'm not
with
even
you.
able to start
Now
an
he
answer.
must
I know
speak.
he has a weaker case.
The audience believes he's not...
He has a weaker case. He doesn't have a case not to answer.
See, remember,
I need to
the
argue
one
the
who has
case.
a weaker
I
case-
need
Let
to
him,
argue
okay,
the
Dr.
case.
Patra,
The one
Dr.
who has-
Patra, let him argue.
The one who has a weaker case speaks the longest amount
I
of
need
time,
to argue
remember.
at least.
The one who has a strong case does not
Obviously,
speak
he's
at all.
spoken the longest. Now, and this is very disruptive because, it takes away from the coherence of the argument. So the first point is the SIT is being painted as a clash between my demand, Rahul Gandhi's demand, the judge is hearing it. It's a demand, a request which we are publicly making through the court. Secondly, the point missed completely is that the argument in court, in the Supreme Court, was that don't take up this case because there's a High Court matter pending. The moment a Supreme Court takes up a PIL, when a direct matter is pending in the High Court, it renders that proceeding infructuous. And if you combine that with the charge in the letter of preferred selected benches, then the effect of this taking up in the Supreme Court would be a cessation of a High Court proceeding. But that's not for you or me to decide. It is for the court to decide. But that's an allegation which is implicit in the letter.
Which is essentially, if you remove
me
the
10
legal
seconds.
1 second,
jargon...
I have not finished.
He has not started.
But Dr. Singhvi, you speak a lot and then you say you haven't started. That's a bit unfair. That's a bit unfair.
Be fair.
You've just spoken
Let's
for
go
2
point by
minutes
point.
and
Abhishek
then
ji,
you
you are
say
my senior.
you haven't
Abhishek
started.
ji, your single line would be equivalent to a paragraph
all
of
that is
me.
being said by him is, the matter before the court, we should do nothing.
Okay,
but
well,
the matter before the court, in what manner is the precise allegation?
Now, can I
And
please-
lastly, Loya matter is the only case I know of recent past of a physical liquidation of a judge. I don't understand. You have SITs
this is
for
beyond
smallest of things.
purview. I mean,
You don't
No,
want to
we don't
consider
know if it was
SIT.
Physical liquidation of a judge.
No, allegation.
And he knows of it.
It's an
Even at the
allegation.
Supreme Court, I don't know why the Supreme Court is
allegation
hearing
is an
this.
allegation. Of course, it is an allegation. The SIT will exonerate the allegation.
But the charge here, Sambit...
It will exonerate the allegation.
Okay, Dr. Singh, you've spoken enough. Dr. Patra,
See,
one second. Let's leave the legal jargon aside. On the Loya case, the very straight charge is that the case is being assigned by the Chief Justice to a judge who these 4 judges believe is bent and who would dispose of this case in your favor. That's the charge.
See, first and foremost, many of our politicians, including Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, have almost gone to the Rubicon of contempt of court when they say that these judges are the one who are almost sold out. I mean, I'm using the common usage word, almost sold out. And if the case is heard by these judges...
Not almost sold out, sold out.
Sold
There's
out.
No almost there.
See, at least I have to maintain some sanctity as a politician.
You've got 4 judges rebelling.
I am
So
not
that-
And that's
the
just a
judges have
second.
suggested that.
Abhishek ji, you have
I have not
started and
said so.
finished. Let me at least start. Secondly, and most importantly, Rahul, I firmly believe, and you would agree, that in cases like this, understatements are virtues, overstatements are not a virtue. When I'm talking about judges of this country, sir, I'm not talking about spokesperson of another political party. So when Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi says that, well, Bombay High Court was hearing, that was well and fine, that Mr. Dave and Indira Jaisingh objected to it on the floor of the Supreme Court, but despite that, the Supreme Court continued hearing the case. That was something really bad because this was a preferred bench. I firmly believe there is something seriously wrong, which they all knew all these years, but were quiet. Is there something called as committed judiciary all these years? We heard committed judiciary way back during the emergency. We heard of committed judiciary, and we saw during emergency as to how 3 judges superseded Mr. Ray, superseded 3 judges and became the Chief Justice. And I have this statement. I have this statement.
That was terrible, but are we back there
No,
again?
that's what.
So why are you talking about the emergency?
So they are talking about committed judiciary when they talk of preferential treatment, when they talk of bench hunting. Is it not that they're talking about committed
so what I
judiciary?
need to do is take a quick break. This is turning out to be a fascinating debate. I hope all of you sitting here in the India Today Mediaplex and those watching on TV would agree. When I come back, there are 2 important questions I want to put before our debaters. Question number 1, is this eruption an internal rift in the judiciary or the consequence of government interference? Secondly, should the Chief Justice step down, given that 4 of his senior-most peers have lost faith in him? What is the way forward? Can these wounds be healed? We come back with part 2 of the big judges at war face-off on the other side of a very quick break. Stay with us.
You are watching.
We will start again. Welcome back. You're watching part 2 of the big judges at war face-off. Is this eruption a consequence of an internal rift in the judiciary or the result of excessive government control? Dr. Singhvi.
Bit of both. I must start by saying that the defenses we have heard till now are A, hearkening back to supersession of judges, B, committed judiciary, C, why didn't all the names of cases come in a letter written 2 months ago, D, it's a contempt of court. I'm yet searching for an answer on the merits from my friend, possibly because he has none. I've made very specific points on merits. Number 2, yes, this is a problem with the judiciary because there is a lack of collegiality. They have a collegium but no collegiality. They have no collectivity. They have less harmony. So there is definitely a problem within which can be easily solved by reaching out and creating harmony. But there is also a problem where there is a connecting point with the corridors of power. To wish it away, to put your head like an ostrich in the sand and to say we'll have golden silence and mouth platitudes and give sermons about democracy but not address it is wrong. The connecting point with the government is the merits and the content of the 2 issues raised in the letter, the subject matter of the morning meeting and the affirmative comment by Justice Gogoi yesterday. All 3 have a connect with the government. All 3 have the connect not with the government alone but with the highest corridors of power. And unless you address that issue, you are an ostrich in the sand, deluding yourself, not the public of this country.
When judges are forced to come out into the people's court, Sambit Patra, and they're saying democracy is at stake, surely these 4 wise men felt suffocated enough to be compelled to say this in the public domain. A press conference by judges is totally unprecedented.
So Rahul, in fact, why did they feel suffocated and why did they feel that democracy was in danger? As you would read it from their letters and from the press conference itself, they felt suffocated because they felt that the cases which should have gone to the correct benches and the person who was in fact the master of the roster was probably not delivering his duty with due diligence. Rahul, with all respect, I will tell you, I'm a very small person as far as polity and the constitutionality of things in this country is concerned. Am I anyone to discuss about the merit of the Chief Justice of India?
But what if he's not doing the job properly?
So Sambit
What if
Patra,
he's
no,
bent?
if he's not doing his job properly, Sambit Patra should come and stand on this platform in Aaj Tak and India Today over here and should start abusing
the
the
judges
chief.
who had to speak out have already spoken
Sir,
out.
let me be categorical over here. I don't know. I am equidistant from the Chief Justice as well as the 4 judges. For me, the Chief Justice is equally respectable as the 4 respected judges are. I am no one to cast aspersions on any judge. Mr. Singhvi can say that Sambit Patra lacks merit. Well, yes, I will swallow that I'm not knowledgeable, I do not carry merit, but for God's sake, I would not swallow the sin of committing a word against the Chief Justice of India or any judge against India. I would not.
Justice Chalameshwar in particular, Dr. Singhvi, has had a running feud with the Chief Justice of India. The same cannot be said about the other 3 judges. They came into the Supreme Court on virtually the same day. Justice Deepak Mishra is senior only because he took oath earlier. Otherwise, Justice Chalameshwar has actually made a judge much earlier. Is this down to a internal rivalry? You'd have internal rivalry among 2 Congress leaders, among 2 BJP leaders, among possibly 2 anchors, among 2 students, or how do you know for sure that this is external pressure?
You asked me a question, I said a bit of both. However, when 4 judges collectively, the senior-most in the country after the Chief Justice, take up this enormous courage and speak in public, to suggest that it is personal is ridiculous. It is avoiding an issue touching on our democracy and independence of justice. When 4 judges speak and have the courage to speak, and one of them is about to be Chief Justice of India, he steps up and shuns, he doesn't avoid the issue. Well, then to suggest that it is merely personal is to avoid the issue. The question you asked was, is it governmental connection or not? You got no answer. The answer you got was, I will not commit a sin, let Mr. Singhvi commit a sin by questioning judges. That's not an answer to your question. The question is there a government connect in the subject matter which led the judges to write this letter and which led the judges to go in the morning meeting? That's not answered. Why is it not answered? It's not answered because it's an inconvenient truth. It's an inconvenient truth. The government is a silent spectator, far removed, living in the island of Maldives and watching this fun is the impression they want to convey. No, sir.
Can I please
the subject matter is not a picnic lunch between you and me, not a contractual dispute, not a tort, not an accident. It's a matter involving the government at the highest level. Now, I'm not saying that's the only issue. There is obviously, suppose the Chief Justice of India had stretched out his hand and tried to solve the problem. It might not have reached the public. So there is an internal disharmony. So I said the answer, correct answer is a bit of both.
Even if Justice Chalameshwar's outburst is left aside because of his past feud with Deepak Mishra, the fact is a judge like Justice Gogoi is next in line to be India's Chief Justice.
Enormous courage it requires.
Through the press conference that he did yesterday, he is imperiling his possible elevation. Unless he was hugely suffocated, Justice Gogoi would not have done this.
See, as far as Mr. Singhvi is saying that the government connection is the listing of the cases, my simple submission, Rahul, has been, again and again in this debate, that does the government influence the Chief Justice of India and do we have preferential benches in the Supreme Court?
That's the charge. Why are you running away from it?
No, that is not there. It is not true then. The government of this country, at least the people of this country...
The government will say no to it very naturally, but these judges have spoken out very strongly saying that is the case.
So it is for the judges to think, sir. It is not for the government to react. And when my friend says that, well, yes, the government is picnicking in the Maldives island and is not interfering with what is happening, I would say it is, thank God, the government is in some island. Silent. Golden silence is far more important.
No, but a top official of the Prime Minister's office went to Justice Deepak Mishra's office.
Give me a few seconds. These are very important questions. People of the whole country would be watching this debate of yours. So I say, allow me a few seconds. We should not be running over this issue. Number one, golden silence on issues like this. And if at all the government has to work, the government would have its own way of working, rather than drawing everything into the rings of the WWF match and then, in fact, glamorize everything in front of the camera and start fighting in front of the people.
You're dodging my question, Sambit Patra. You've spoken enough. Please answer my question.
One sentence.
Why did a senior official from the Prime Minister's office go to the Chief Justice's house this morning?
No, the same question can be asked by me also. Why did one of the opposition leaders went to one of the senior most judges yesterday?
No, so you condemn that. Will you condemn this?
Did we condemn it?
Yeah, you said D. Raja should not have gone. You said D. Raja should not have gone.
No, I held the press conference yesterday. I did not speak anything about politics. I only advised saying that Congress party should not politicize the internal affairs of Supreme Court. Anyone in this country can meet anyone, but well, yes, politicization of internal issues of Supreme Court should not be made and should not be drawn to the streets and the marketplace of politics to sort it out. This is a wrong precedence, and let me tell you, for the first time, spokespersons of national political party are debating on the probity of the Supreme Court judges. We have legal law students, law luminaries over here. This precedence would be dangerous for the country in the future years. Everyone would question
Yet
Supreme
another
Court
avoidance. Are we all stakeholders in democracy? No. No. According to him, no. Are we all stakeholders in independence of justice? No. Because if you raise an issue today as a stakeholder, as a citizen of India, in a core value of the Indian Republic and the Constitution, you are, inverted commas, politicizing.
So why do we have
now, one
contempt
second,
of court
one sec. Add to this the very interesting fact. We have one of the most immense orators in the Prime Minister. His speaking abilities are outstanding. He can sell magic. He can do magic. He sells 10 rupees as 100 rupees. He talks, every minister of his talks.
Should I come up with some of these rubrics of Rahul Gandhi? Aloo ki machine, Sona, aloo ki machine, Sona.
Don't interrupt me.
That now?
You can abuse Rahul Gandhi after I finish. Let me finish first. Each minister of yours speaks, exaggerates to the limit, jumlas are part of it. Now this eloquent silence. This eloquent silence now.
Now, let me come.
My God.
Let me begin with some Rahul Jumlas and then I'll come to the answer. See, as far as as far as the speaking abilities of Rahul Gandhi are concerned, only one sentence, that this morning I got up at night, surmises everything. So I did not speak at length about it.
Why they didn't speak? And he's talking about
it's okay, sir. This morning I got up at night. I'm already tired. Don't shout over me, sir.
Digressive.
And secondly, and most important, I did not speak at length about Rahul Gandhi, but coming to the core issue, that since the Prime Minister is an eloquent speaker, he should come out and speak on this issue.
Or a minister.
And let me tell you, the moment the Prime Minister would have spoken on this issue, they would have held a press conference saying that, look, the Prime Minister interfering with the judiciary. I bet my cards on this. This is what they would have said.
Or the law minister.
Or a minister. Why the law minister?
So I'm out of time on this debate. I want to ask one final question to both our guests. On the way forward, should Chief Justice Deepak Mishra step down in light of the fact that 4 of his senior-most peers have lost complete faith in him? And I put that question first to Sambit Patra.
Rahul, let me tell you, I'm a smallest thing as far as the polity of this country is concerned. To put this question in front of me, which concerns the Chief Justice of India, I am no one who can even take this question.
Dr. Singhvi.
I have not avoided a single answer. This is also an avoidance. But emphatically no.
Why not?
Emphatically no. That would deepen the crisis. That would create a crisis. It would exacerbate a crisis. It would continue the crisis. I am not at all suggesting that, and anybody who's saying that, I condemn it. However, what is required is for the Chief Justice of India to stretch out his hand, embrace his colleagues. He's the leader of the pack. He's the leader. And if he does that, and I know I have the greatest respect for the man personally, he's known to be a man of great talents, he has the capacity to do it. If he does that, I am sure all egos will be transcended in a moment. Because without 72 hours or 1 week of this problem going on, this institution will suffer. And therefore, it's vital not to precipitate, not to resign, not to escape. Stretch out your hand, show statesmanship and solve the problem.
Rahul, I just borrow a phrase from my good friend Mr. Singhvi when he says that all egos would be, in fact, transcended. I would say India is far bigger than anyone's ego. Let not the politicians, let the ego, in fact, kidnap the idea of India. Let not anyone play with the idea of India. I firmly believe judiciary is the strongest pillar of this democracy. We all should continue to respect it from the heart of hearts. And I firmly appeal to the people of this country that whatever may have happened, but for God's sake, don't let your faith on judiciary wither away to any extent.
This is where I end the Judges at War face-off. As always on India Today, we don't take sides. Instead, we leave it to you, our viewers, to decide who you believe won the day. But I think both our guests would agree that finding a resolution is far more important than determining who carried this argument. Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Dr. Sambit Patra, for lighting up this face-off with your incisive arguments. Thank you very much. Can we have a warm round of applause for both our debaters? Thank you very much. We're slipping into a break. News and updates continue on the other side. Stay with us.
You are